Hi, this is Naomi with Sword and Steel, and today I'd like to help you get into Age of Sigmar. So the very first thing we have to figure out is which army would you like to play?
There are 4 Grand Alliances in Age of Sigmar, and your army will be from one of these. There is Grand Alliance Order, who has Cities of Sigmar, Daughters of Cain, Fireslayers, Idoneth Deepkin, Karajan Overlords, Seraphon, Stormcast Eternals, and Sylvaneth. These are people who follow the ideals of Sigmar, the God King, who want to restore peace, prosperity, and civilization into the realms. In Grand Alliance Chaos, there are Beasts of Chaos, Blades of Khorne, Disciples of Tzeentch, Hedonites of Slaanesh, Magic King of Nurgle, Skaven, and Slaves to Darkness. These are those who follow the Chaos Lords, or Chaos Lords themselves in some cases. They want to unsettle the world. They want the people to turn against each other, to fight, to hate, to destroy. They sow seeds of evil within the hearts of the people of the Grand Alliance Order. Grand Alliance Death follows Nagash. Nagash is the Lord of the Undead, and though he was once aligned with Sigmar, he changed his mind as he wanted to rule the lands himself rather than sit at the side of Sigmar, so he controls
Flesh Eater Courts, Legions of Nagash, Night Hunt, and Ossiarch Bone Reapers.
And the last Grand Alliance, though really I don't know how well they work together, is the Gloomspite Gates, the Ogor Maw tribes, and the Auric war clans. Soon there will be giants among them too, I believe. And these are basically orcs, goblins, and ogres who want to destroy everything, just as their god Gorka Morka loves to do. They are bloodthirsty, and their next big battle is their great hope in life.
So once you figure out what you want to play as an army, what boxes should you pick up? Warhammer works on a point system. Generally speaking, you want to hit 2,000 points at some time. But first, I'd suggest hitting 500 points. That's a nice, small army. You just want to get started. And one of these start collecting boxes for Age of Sigmar seems to be the thing. If you have a bigger budget, then I get one of these start collectings and one nice big model that you love the look of, or troops that you love the look of. You can figure out your color scheme if you aren't going with the box art. You can mess up on these, get better on these ones, and do really well on this one. Yes, it does come on sprues. It doesn't come beautiful like this. It's come looking something like this. This is terrain, but it works in the same way. And you're wondering, how in the world do I go from this to this? Thankfully, Games Workshop has a very easy to follow assembly guide with the models in each box. To get it off the sprue, do not use a knife. It is dangerous for your fingers. It is dangerous for your models. There's going to be little fiddly bits that if you're using a knife to try and take it off, you could crack the bit. No, there are cutters specifically designed just for cutting off models, and they are so much better to use. Games Workshop created their own brand of cutters. It's very nice. So they are absolutely designed for it. There are other brands besides that work really nicely. What you're looking for are cutters that are very thin, because you really need to get in there and cut off. And then you can use your hobby knife, because you're going to be cutting off that little piece of sprue that you didn't quite get off with the cutters. Glue. Now, if you have plastic models, very straightforward. Find a plastic glue. Yes, you can use super glue, but same as using a knife with sprues versus hobby cutters with sprues, plastic glue is just so much easier. You need the barest amount, and it works very quickly. So when you put super glue together, I'm sure you remember the 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24. Well, by this time the plastic glue has already dried enough that you can move on to the next step. So here are some needle-like ones, looking like that. This one I wouldn't use for small miniatures. Something like this is used for larger plastic miniatures. See that? That would be for larger plastic miniatures, not for tiny plastic miniatures, unless you're very, very accurate with your hands. Now bear in mind plastic glue is toxic, so make certain you're in a ventilated place when you go ahead and use it, because I wouldn't want it getting you sick. And then you want your battletome. It'll tell you the story behind the army, it'll show you every single model that you can play in the army, and it will also show you how to paint, possible ways to paint up your army. And every different army has an allegiance that you can choose. So in Cities of Sigmar, these are all different cities that your army could be from. Depending on the city that you choose, your army will gain various abilities. And that's the same throughout. There are also, in most cases, spells that are in here that you can choose from for your spellcasters. And here is an example of what a war scroll looks like. Once you are accustomed to it and you've played a few games, you'll immediately be able to read it without any question. The models, cutters, hobby knife, glue, and your battletome. The core rulebook has, of course, all the rules. Don't be intimidated by its size. In the core rulebook, a fraction of that book is the rules. A lot of it is just fluff and armies and how to paint and all sorts of suggestions and different battle plans that you can lay out. Now, 2 more things that we need. We need brushes and we need paints. I suggest starting off with 3 brushes. Base brush, doing your base colors. Detail brush, doing all the big details. Fine detail, getting in on the nitty-gritties. These 3 will paint you many a miniature, as long as you clean them. Cleaning your brushes is important. You can use dish soap to clean your brushes. There are better brush cleaners out there if you'd like to use them instead. I personally like the Vallejo brush cleaner the most. Even if you have dried acrylic paint in it, you can get it out. But it would be best if you never reach that point. So just make certain that you clean your brush nice and thoroughly after every time you use it. After every session that you use it. And you should be able to have these for a very long time. Paint! Oh my goodness, the paint. Oh my goodness, the paint. For your first army, I'd actually suggest assembling your model from front to back, all the way fully assembled, and paint it from there. If you're worried about pieces that you can't quite get that brush into, then shadow it. Shadows always have less colors than highlights. Put your base color into it and then forget the rest. However, before you touch a paintbrush to your model, you're going to need to prime it. There's a spray can, which for new players is definitely the easiest way to go about. Just make certain that you do not inhale these. I would suggest a nice ventilator mask. You know, the ones where it has these 2 bubbles and if you push your hands down you can't breathe anymore. Yeah, those ones. Now these ones do not work against glue. Glue, you need a ventilated place so you can breathe fresh air. These are to catch the particulates that are created from the spray. So actual droplets of paint, not going into your lungs. So use a mask when you're spraying. If you have an airbrush, that is the best way to prime your miniatures. If you don't have an airbrush, I would suggest a nice, high quality spray can. Here's one. This one is Caliban Green. If you're going to have a whole bunch of green models, it's kind of nice to just base them with the primer. It takes a little bit of practice to get this down right. Do a little bit of practice before you actually apply this to your miniature on something, just so that you understand what it's going to do before it does it. Thankfully, there is something called Simply Green, so that if you completely destroy your first run of miniatures, you soak it in Simply Green, scrub it off with an old toothbrush, and try again. Alright, so you've got your primer. What color you should go with priming, that depends on the color of your army. If you would like an idea of what primer you might want to go with, you can feel free to comment below and say, I'd like to, for example, I'm going to paint all of my models purple. What color should I go with? Well, purple. If you want it to be a nice vibrant color, then I'd suggest doing a light, a white or a cream underneath. So before you decide which paint to use, you're going to have to decide what your color scheme is. And some people say you just grab your blue, your red, and your yellow. You just need the primary colors and you can make every single color from there. No! That is... So, when it comes to paint, paint when you mix it will always be duller than the colors you use to mix it with. So if you want a dull purple, a dull green, a dull orange, or dull brown, then sure. But if you want vibrant colors, then you're going to need to choose the color specifically that you want. And thankfully, there are hundreds of paints. So if you have a particular color in mind, you can find a high quality paint. They go a long way because you're mixing water in with them. This is the concentrated version of what you're actually going to use. So, how do you figure out what colors you want? You have to decide your army. And in some cases, in your battletome, they will have the color scheme that you want. If you're going with one of these boxes, on the back of the assembly guide, they will tell you every color from the Citadel range, that's GW's range, that they use to paint these. So you can match the colors. Or if you don't particularly like this color scheme, but you do really like that red, well then in the back you can still find the color that was used. How many colors do you use? That's kind of up to you. I'd say choose 10 paints for every different army that you choose for a basic thing. As soon as they have weapons, you want metal colors as well. So that's 12 paint colors, not including your primer. That'll get you a long way. And you can also do multiple armies with that. When choosing your colors, your base color, that's the color that from a distance they'll see more than anything else. Just remember that your shadows will be less saturated in color than your base one, and your highlight will be closer to, for blue, your highlight color will be a blue that has more green in it. For orange, your highlight color will have more yellow in it. For red, your highlight color will have more orange. So what I mean is, like, say you have this dark red then the red that you're looking for isn't a pinky red for the highlight. It should be an orangey red. It's still red, but it has more orange in it than your base color. Green goes towards yellow, blue goes towards green, red goes towards orange, orange goes towards yellow, yellow goes towards white, pink goes towards white, purple goes towards red. Generally, black highlighted is with a purple or a blue, but black doesn't have a highlight color, so when you're doing black, the highlight is merely the reflection of your environment. And generally speaking, your environment, because of blue skies and all that, is going to be blue, so the highlight would be a blue, generally speaking. One last thing that you cannot forget is a measuring tape that has inches on it, which I think is every measuring tape. And these. And I'd suggest getting a pack of 36, or at least a pack of 20. I think GW actually makes dice that come in packs of 20. But you need dice. So you may need to save up for that initial investment. If you would really like to get started and you don't think that you'll have enough to pick up what I suggested, then a very minimal suggestion I would make is grab a box of troops for the army that you want. So plastic glue, cutters, troop trace, 4 paints now, and a paintbrush is a good bare minimum to start off with. And then you follow the steps, as I said. The very next step would probably be to get your book. After that would be to get more models, increase the amount of paints that you have from there, and If you had any questions about what I suggested that you didn't understand, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Remember, these are your models in your game. You are the master of your brush. Thanks for watching. Bye!